Original Barbie. Mattel introduced this doll in 1959, and she changed the toy industry in ways no one expected. Before Barbie, most dolls for children were babies or toddlers. Barbie arrived as a teenage fashion model, giving children something different to play with, a doll that looked like an adult and had a life of her own. She wore a black and white swimsuit, had arched eyebrows, and came with a quiet confidence that made her stand out on store shelves. She was simple but striking, and she became the foundation for everything that followed. Malibu Barbie. This version arrived in 1971 and reflected a shift in how people were living and what they wanted from their leisure time. She had a sun-kissed tan, straight blonde hair, and a relaxed expression that suited the California beach culture of that era. Malibu Barbie felt lighter and more casual than her predecessor, less polished and more approachable. She became one of the best-selling Barbie dolls ever made and is still remembered fondly by collectors who grew up in that decade. Barbie's friends and family. Mattel understood early on that Barbie needed a world around her, not just accessories. Ken arrived in 1961, named after the founder's son, and became Barbie's steady companion. Midge followed in 1963 as her best friend. Skipper came along as her younger sister. Each new character gave children more ways to create stories and relationships within their play. These dolls were not standalone products. They were built to exist alongside Barbie, filling out her social world in a way that kept the line feeling alive and expandable. Fashion designer Barbie. At a certain point, Barbie stopped just wearing fashion and started creating it. This version came with small fabric pieces, design tools, and instructions that allowed children to make their own doll clothes. It was a subtle but meaningful change. Instead of a doll that simply modeled what already existed, this Barbie invited the child to participate. It encouraged creativity in a hands-on way and quietly suggested that designing something yourself was just as rewarding as admiring what someone else had made. Career Barbie. Throughout the 1960s and beyond, Mattel began releasing Barbie dolls dressed for specific professions. She became an astronaut in 1965, years before most people expected a woman to hold that role in real life. She worked as a surgeon, a pilot, a firefighter, a presidential candidate, and eventually an engineer and a robotics engineer. Each career version was a small cultural statement. Mattel was using a children's toy to quietly push against limitations, showing young girls a version of a future that wasn't yet common in the world around them. Barbie Basics. This line launched in 2010 and was aimed less at children and more at adult collectors and fashion enthusiasts. The dolls came dressed in simple, classic wardrobe pieces, little black dresses, white shirts, dark denim, and were designed to be mixed and matched like a real wardrobe. The aesthetic was minimal and deliberately timeless. Barbie Basics was Mattel acknowledging that Barbie had an audience beyond the toy aisle, one that appreciated her as a style object rather than just a plaything. Totally Hair Barbie. Released in 1992, this doll holds the record as the best-selling Barbie doll of all time. Her hair reached all the way down to her feet, which was unusual and visually dramatic for a toy of that era. She came with styling gel and accessories, making hair play the central feature of the experience. There was nothing especially complex about her concept, but she connected with children in a direct and immediate way. Sometimes the simplest ideas are the ones that last. Holiday Barbie. Starting in 1988, Mattel began releasing a special edition Barbie each year around the holiday season. These dolls were elaborately dressed in rich, formal gowns, often in deep reds, greens, or gold, and were packaged as collector's items from the beginning. They were not really meant to be played with. Parents and grandparents bought them as gifts that were also keepsakes, something to display rather than unwrap in use. Over time, early holiday Barbies became genuinely valuable among collectors, which only added to the tradition's appeal. Barbie Signature. This is Mattel's current line for adult collectors, and it covers a wide range of releases. Tribute dolls honoring real women, fashion-forward artistic collaborations, anniversary editions, and pop culture recreations. The Signature line treats Barbie as a serious collectible object, with more detailed construction, premium packaging, and a presentation that feels closer to fine merchandise than a toy. It reflects how far the brand has traveled from its origins and how many different people it now speaks to. Fashionista's Barbie. Mattel launched this line in 2009 and gradually transformed it into something genuinely important for the brand. By 2016, fashionistas began introducing Barbies with different body types, curvy, tall, and petite alongside the original. Skin tones expanded significantly. Dolls appeared with vitiligo, with prosthetic limbs, with hearing aids, in wheelchairs. The Fashionistas line became Mattel's most direct response to decades of criticism that Barbie presented an unrealistic and narrow image of what a person could look like. It remains the most diverse and widely available Barbie line sold today. Made to move Barbie. This version was designed around physical flexibility. She has joints at the shoulders, elbows, wrists, hips, knees, and ankles, which allows her to bend and pose in ways standard Barbie dolls never could. She was created with active play in mind: yoga, gymnastics, sports, stretching into positions that actually resemble how a human body moves. For children who found traditional Barbie poses stiff or limiting, Made to Move offered something that felt closer to real. Barbie as a movie character. Over the decades, Barbie has starred in her own animated films and has been produced as a doll version of characters from other stories: Swan Lake, The Nutcracker, Rapunzel, and more. These dolls blend the Barbie brand with storytelling in a way that gives children a direct connection between what they watched and what they can hold. The 2023 live-action film brought this idea into entirely new territory, producing a wide range of dolls that tied directly to the movie and introduced the brand to a generation of older audiences who had grown up and moved on. Barbie pop culture collaborations. Mattel has partnered with designers, brands, and cultural figures to produce Barbie dolls that exist well outside the toy aisle. There have been Barbies designed by Versace, Moschino, and Vivienne Westwood. There have been Barbies modeled after Frida Kahlo, Amelia Earhart, and Rosa Parks. There have been limited releases tied to music, film, and art. These collaborations position Barbie as something fluid, not just a toy, not just a collectible, but a cultural symbol that can absorb and reflect almost any creative world it enters.